God wants you to have freedom.
But what does he want us to do with it?
If I knew then what I know now, I might have said, it's simple. Freedom is a length of rope. God wants you to hang yourself with it.
Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Supernatural is a television program that ran from 2005 to 2020 on the CW. It is a truly bizarre show. I love it, but I don't think it loves me back. Throughout its 15 seasons, Supernatural explores various themes involving family, morality, destiny, and faith. This ultimately culminates in a meta-narrative following Sam and Dean Winchester as they battle to escape the story that they're stuck in. The story of their lives. It's no secret that many fans of the show found the ending conflicting at best and depressing at worst, despite its desperate strokes to paint a happy ending.
Is that where I screwed up?
Sir, this is a radio shed?
The finale depicts Sam and Dean reuniting with Bobby, the Impala, and each other, while not one, but two different versions of Carry On My Wayward Son send them off. While the story was undoubtedly warped by COVID-19 restrictions and a decade-long game of hot potato between various showrunners, the problem with the ending ultimately lies in the nihilistic conclusions that it forces its audience to draw. With the show ultimately serving the concepts that family is pain, evil is inherent, and free will is an elaborate illusion.
Dad's on a hunting trip, and he hasn't been home in a few days. I think he wants us to pick up where he left off. You know, saving people, hunting things, family business.
I swore I was done hunting, for good. We got work to do.
The first season of Supernatural introduces its audience to a pair of estranged brothers putting their differences aside to embark on a monster-filled road trip to locate their missing father. From the jump, Dean displays an unwavering loyalty to their dad, John Winchester, and his life's mission to hunt the demon who killed his wife. While Dean is shown to desire affection and normality deep down, he never allows himself to admit to it because he sees it as betraying both his hunter lifestyle and the family he already has. Sam, on the other hand, has already abandoned both of these things to go to college and live a normal life. In this sense, free will as a concept is explored early on, with Dean insisting that it's their destiny to be hunters, while Sam believes he can break free from the family business.
You're one of us.
No, I'm not like you. This is not going to be my life.
You have a responsibility.
To Dad and his crusade?
Sam and Dean's views often serve to foil one another, which is the primary source of emotional conflict throughout the early seasons. For example, Dean believes family is a sacred bond that can't be severed, and Sam believes their dad is an abusive piece of shit. And he's not wrong.
You ever been really hungry? I mean, haven't eaten in days hungry?
Yeah.
So what did it take?
Get this, peanut butter and bread.
Okay. And how about family?
Well, his old man called. Once he found out what happened, he said let him rot in jail.
She has a temper. Sometimes it's no big deal.
My dad does too. You don't want to see him when he's drinking.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! That's enough!
He needs you too.
When I told Dad I was scared of the thing in my closet, he gave me a 45.
Whatever happened to that college fund?
Spend it on ammo.
On the other hand, Dean is older and not only remembers a time before John was corrupted by his quest for revenge, but also feels a responsibility to that quest himself. Dean was raised to be his father's soldier and his brother's caretaker, and he takes both of those jobs very seriously. Meanwhile, Sam, who never really knew his mother and only ever knew the worst version of his father, resents his upbringing and his brother's blind devotion to it.
I don't understand the blind faith you have in the man. I mean, it's like you don't even question him.
Yeah, it's called being a good son.
Similarly, the brothers often find themselves playing conflicting roles. While the show often debates the morality of its supernatural creatures, in the early seasons especially, the conclusion is usually drawn that the monsters' lack of humanity makes them inherently evil, even if they don't really want to be.
I'm a monster.
You don't have to be. We can find a way, all right? I can. I'm gonna save you.
Tried. I know you tried. This is all there is left.
The This culminates in the central conflict of the initial seasons as Sam manifests supernatural abilities given to him by the demon who killed his mom and girlfriend. While he tries to use his abilities for good, their demonic nature raises the questions as to whether he will inevitably go dark side. The stance of inherent evil is best illustrated through the character of Gordon, who killed his own sister after she'd become a vampire and tries to kill Sam because of his abilities.
I'm not a killer, Dean. I'm a hunter. And your brother's fair game.
And his perspective is shared by most hunters, including John Winchester.
You just said that I had to save you, that nothing else mattered, and that if I couldn't,
You'd what, Dean?
I'd have to kill you. You said that I might have to kill you, Sammy.
For Sam and Dean, the introduction of the demon Ruby shakes up their pre-established notions, as she deserted Hell and wants to help Sam. However, the season 4 finale unveils her as a secret villain who has been manipulating Sam into freeing Lucifer. This cliffhanger serves as further proof to the brothers that there's no fighting demonic nature. Despite this, Dean's unwavering loyalty to family renders him unable to kill Sam, marking the first time he truly disobeys his father's orders. The raising of Lucifer shifts these pre-established themes and dynamics as the brothers are informed of their roles in the apocalypse prophecy. It's discovered that not only did their mother come from a hunter family herself, but their parents' union was predetermined in order to produce Sam and Dean as the vessels for the angels Michael and Lucifer, with Dean representing the interests of heaven and Sam those of hell. As a character, Sam often struggles with his own internal darkness. While he tries to do the right thing, it often goes wrong, and this knowledge that he's been marked from birth as the perfect vessel for Satan clashes with his sensitive and empathetic nature. He never wanted to be a hunter in the first place, and now he feels that he's destined to be the monster. While he began the series in a state of free will, having escaped his family and their business, by season 5, Sam feels locked into an inescapable destiny and is living in fear of the day he will succumb to his inner evil. Dean, on the other hand, began the series in a state of resignation, content to follow orders laid out for him by his father, but he ultimately adapts his moral philosophy, choosing to protect Sam even when he seems monstrous. The brothers not only fight against a biblical apocalypse prophecy, but also their own predetermined paths. Season 5 ends with Sam proving his intrinsic goodness by sacrificing his life to stop Lucifer, while Dean gives up the hunter lifestyle in favor of the love and comfort he always denied himself. Another character who personifies these themes is Castiel. Cass is introduced in season 4 as an angel of heaven. Initially, he's very similar to Dean in that he embodies a soldier's mentality, he has implicit faith in his father, and he doesn't allow himself to imagine other possibilities for his existence.
Have faith. The plan is just.
How could you even say that?
Because it comes from heaven. That makes it just.
It must be nice to be so sure of yourselves.
Tell me something, Dean. When your father gave you an order, didn't you obey?
In Supernatural, God hasn't been seen by anybody, including his angels, for a very long time. In his absence, the angels continue to follow their orders, guided by those above them in ranks. In this way, the angels have their own form of faith. While some believe that God is dead and others believe that he abandoned them, Castiel still has faith in his father. As he develops a relationship with the Winchesters, Cass begins to recognize discrepancies between what the angels are doing and what he believes is right in the eyes of God. This not only functions as Castiel's assertion of free will over destiny, but also mirrors Dean's emotional conflict. Cass puts his faith in the goodness and autonomy of humanity over the word of the angels, much as Dean puts his faith in Sam's goodness rather than his father's demands. And Castiel is ultimately resurrected by God, proving to him that his own convictions have worth. Many proponents of Supernatural cite its first couple seasons, helmed by its creator, Eric Kripke, as the best era, and some people even recommend that new viewers should stop watching entirely after season 5. While I ultimately enjoy the show in its entirety, I do agree that after this point, the show's themes do start to get muddled. These first 5 seasons portray consistent and satisfying arcs that all serve the same concepts: that family should be loved and cared for rather than obediently followed, that fate is what you make of it, and while circumstances may be out of your control, your choices are not.
I've got demon blood in me, Dean. This disease pumping through my veins, and I can't ever rip it out or scrub it clean.
For you or Dad, the things I'm willing to do or kill, it's just, it scares me sometimes.
What the hell?
Exactly. What the hell am I?
I'm your new god.
And this is what you're gonna become!
I'm a whole new level of freak.
can't believe you were gonna kill me. You're a zombie. I'm a taxpayer.
This is going to be so much fun.
The moral discussion around innate evil and goodness continues to be explored throughout Supernatural's latter 10 seasons, to mixed success. While Sam asserts his inner virtue by containing Lucifer, he is then resurrected from hell without a soul. This introduces the concept of soullessness to Supernatural, a condition that many characters suffer with throughout. While Sam initially seems normal, over the course of multiple episodes it becomes clear that he's different. He lacks empathy, fear, and emotions in general.
Your brother was abducted?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's fine. I mean, I've had time to adjust.
Did it happen when you were kids?
No, like half an hour ago.
While this enhances his hunting abilities, his self-serving attitude becomes dangerous, culminating in his attempt to kill Bobby for his own benefit. This recontextualizes the debate, as there is now a physical component to one's inner goodness. However, this does get messy when the season 11 villain Amara starts consuming souls. Some of the newly soulless become axe murderers, while others remain mostly normal, just lacking emotion. While it's assumed that a soulless person will inevitably turn dark when it serves them, some, like the Prophet Donatello, are able to exist normally. When the character Jack becomes soulless, he's shown to still experience anxiety and discontent, but he doesn't truly feel guilty or apologetic until he gets his soul back.
I regret it. The accident.
The accident?
What happened to Mary?
Why didn't I get it? My mother died too. Why didn't I understand? It was my fault.
This broke me.
In this way, a person's soul represents their conscience. Being unable to feel the full ramifications of their actions, a soulless person functions similarly to the monsters in the Supernatural universe. A vampire, for example, needs blood to stay alive. Their evil is innate, and the only way to be good is to fight against it to their own detriment. In season 15, for example, when a teenage boy becomes a vampire against his will, he chooses to be executed by Dean, thereby asserting his morality over his evil nature. When Bobby becomes a ghost, he must make the choice to relinquish himself, or else he will inevitably become a vengeful spirit. Of course, there are some exceptions, such as fellow hunter Garth, who remains a positive figure in the series even after being turned into a werewolf. Despite technically being monsters, he and his family are not shown to struggle much with their nature, choosing to eat animal meat and live a typical suburban life. Other monsters are not treated as such, with both Sam and Dean asserting that it should be assumed that a monster will revert to the monstrous. When Sam decides to set free a kitsune because of a previous connection to her, Dean takes it upon himself to finish the hunt. Likewise, when Dean sires an Amazonian warrior child, Sam kills her. While the brothers feel uneasy about these events, they ultimately seem to agree that while difficult, they did the right thing. This aligns with their characters' perspectives, as both Sam and Dean struggle with their own inner darkness. Sam's fear of his own capacity for evil does not heal when he imprisons Lucifer. His soulless antics, combined with the effects of spending time with Lucifer in hell, lead Sam to question his own morality frequently. On a fundamental level, Sam believes he was cursed when he drank the demon Azazel's blood as an infant.
You used to read to me when I was little. I mean, really little, from that old Classics Illustrated comic book. You remember that?
No.
Knights of the Round Table. And all of King Arthur's knights, and they were all on the quest for the Holy Grail. And I remember looking at this picture of Sir Galahad, and he was kneeling, and light streaming over his face. And I remember thinking, I could never go on a quest like that. Because I'm not clean. I mean, I was just a little kid. You think maybe I knew? I mean, deep down, that I had demon blood in me, and about the evil of it, and that I wasn't pure.
I kind of feel sorry for you. Oh, yeah.
The discovery that demonic influences have guided much of his life drives Sam's fear that evil is permanently attached to him. He feels a separation from all things divine. When the angels first meet him, they consider him a demonic violation to humanity.
Sam, of course, is an abomination.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they...
When his mother Mary is resurrected, he feels uncomfortable and distant with her. This arises not only from the fact that he didn't get to know her growing up, but also that he feels her initial death was his fault. While enduring the trials of hell, Sam even notes that he feels this darkness within him that he hopes will be purged by the torture of the trials. This desire to cleanse himself pushes Sam to the brink of death, and if not for Dean's intervention, Sam would have killed himself under the belief that, much like the vampire boy, his choosing death would be noble. Similarly, Dean sees himself as more weapon than person. He was raised to be a hunter. He's good at killing things. After being tortured in hell for decades, he tortured souls himself and uses the resulting guilt as irremovable evidence of his moral failings. Especially after his attempt at integrating into a normal family put his loved ones in danger, Dean relinquishes himself fully to the identity of hunter, and oftentimes killer. This is explored in depth through the Season 10 conflict, wherein Dean adopts the Mark of Cain in order to wield a weapon that can kill anything. The Mark, however, amplifies his inner killer, making him addicted to the sensation and even transforming him briefly into a demon. Sam and Dean are paralleled by Cain and Abel, wherein an older brother killed his younger brother to keep him from Lucifer's darkness. Likewise, Dean may perform acts of violence for righteous reasons, but that doesn't stop the blood from staining him. As the mark takes hold, much like Cain, Dean is able to suppress his nature through the support of a loved one.
Then you met Colette.
She knew who I was, and what I was. She loved me unconditionally. She forgave me. She only asked for one thing.
To stop.
Dean. Stop.
These gays, they're trying to murder me.
But even after removing the mark, Dean still feels an almost irresistible connection to this inner darkness, as made evident when she is personified into the villain Amara. Perhaps the most obvious example of a character with inner evil is Jack Klein, the son of Satan. Most characters assume the worst of Jack, given his parentage, with the assumption being that a child of Satan is evil incarnate. Because of this, Sam and Dean process Jack's existence very differently, with Sam fighting to see the good in Jack, as he wishes others will see the good in him, while Dean is incredibly wary of Jack and believes that no amount of good intentions can stop him from committing evils, much as Dean views himself.
You know my brother thinks you can be saved.
You don't believe that?
No, I don't.
So, if you're right...
If I'm right, and it comes to killing you, I'll be the one to do it.
Okay, but that's worse. I mean, you do get how that's worse, right?
Like Sam, Jack feels immense guilt for the death of his mother. Kelly Klein was unknowingly impregnated by the devil, but her belief in her son's goodness was so strong that she chose to give birth to him, despite knowing that the process would kill her. For Jack, Kelly represents all of the goodness inside of him, and he struggles with the knowledge that his first earthly action was killing her. Jack has a kind-hearted nature and a deep desire to help people, but he is literally a baby in a young adult's body, and he often struggles to control his powers, which can be very destructive. This is made more problematic when Jack loses his soul. Unlike Sam, who was calm and collected to the point of cocky while soulless, Jack is riddled with confusion, fear, and frustration. With his soul gone, the ties to his humanity, and therefore his mother, feel severed to him, and despite still wishing to be a good person, he no longer knows how to be.
All I ever wanted was to be good. But now I'm just... empty. Even this. I know you're here because you love me, and I want to love you back. It's just... I can't.
For Sam, Dean, and Jack, the key to fighting their inner darkness is relying on their sense of humanity. Sam chose to remember and atone for the things he did while soulless, and he continues to assert his goodness through his caring nature and willingness to help even those he considers dangerous.
We don't have a choice, Sam.
Of course we do. Don't we always? I mean, isn't that the point of everything we've ever done, that we always have a choice?
He killed our mom.
I get it. I was mad too. Or you know what? Hell, I'm still mad. And a part of me wants Jack dead. It really does. But Dean, we haven't even tried to save him.
When God gives Dean a weapon that could kill Jack, all three of these characters have a moment of asserting their goodness over their nature. This weapon is designed to kill both the target and the shooter, so Dean goes into this accepting that his own death will come through killing, a violent action despite the righteous desire to avenge Mary. This murder will be his last action, cementing himself as the natural-born killer he believes himself to be. Meanwhile, Sam has seen himself as a corrupted being for a long time. He holds guilt, shame, and disgust for himself and his actions, but in this moment, when he sees Jack, who is young and naive and soulless and tainted by Lucifer, he sees himself. And he steps in front of the gun, declaring that not only does Jack deserve to be saved, but so does he. And Jack in this moment has no soul and powers to rival God. If he wanted, he could kill both Sam and Dean without grief or guilt. But instead he does this.
I understand. And you were right. All along, I am a monster.
He proves that his goodness does not come from his mother or Sam and Dean's guidance or even his soul, but rather in simply his choice to follow love instead of hate or fear. In turn, Dean, who defines himself by his body count, makes the same choice.
The price was my life. When I experienced a moment of true happiness, the empty would be summoned and it would take me forever. Ever since I took that burden, that curse, I wondered what it could be, what my true happiness could even look like. Don't ever change.
I don't know. I mean, there's things, there's people, feelings that I want to experience differently than I have before.
What?
Or maybe even for the first time.
But I cared about the whole world because of you.
And at 4:30, there's the homoerotic subtext of Supernatural.
Oh, you thought you were getting a Supernatural essay that doesn't talk about Destiel? That's cute. Listen, I admit it, I'm a shipper, okay? He's got daddy issues and struggles with the toxic nature of his own masculinity. He's an angel of the Lord. Can I make it any more obvious? Debate around this relationship can get intense, and there were a lot of production-related things that affected its development, but from a purely narrative perspective, I think it was a missed opportunity. As previously discussed, the character development of both Dean and Castiel often serve to mirror one another in relation to the show's predominant themes, and in my opinion, an exploration of their romantic connection would have furthered this development. Both Dean and Cass struggle to understand their own value beyond what they can provide for others. They identify so strongly with their respective labels of Hunter and Angel because they both define their personal worth on their ability to perform these roles. Castiel is the first character we meet who Dean doesn't serve, so he's able to be vulnerable with him in a way that he's not with others. Even with Sam, there's a pressure to be the big brother and provide strength in a way that often stops Dean from expressing doubts, fears, and sadness. Similarly, Castiel has never been able to express these things among other angels.
I'd tell you something if you promise not to tell another soul.
Okay.
I'm not, Hamler, as you say. I have questions. I have doubts. I don't know what is right and what is wrong anymore.
When we meet Cass, his understanding of mankind is limited, and while not as callous as other angels, he doesn't feel particularly caring towards humans. But his view of humanity soon begins to take shape based on the first human he truly gets to know.
He's in love with humanity.
Just as Dean struggles with conflicting feelings about his father, Castiel maintains a strong dedication to the well-being of heaven and its angels even after betraying their interests. Castiel's love for Dean is discussed openly as early as season 6, usually under the guise of comic relief, but canon is canon, baby.
You have me confused with the other angel? You know, the one in the dirty trench coat who's in love with you?
Go ask him. He was your boyfriend first.
And 2, how was it that you lost Dean? I thought the two of you were joined at the... everything.
And the angels see this relationship as the cause of Castiel's defection, so they try throughout the series to sever the tie. They torture him, they brainwash him to kill Dean, they ask him to kill Dean as a show of loyalty, but continuously their bond proves stronger than his family's descent.
You have to choose, Castiel. Us or them.
Good.
So, in a show that's essentially Bible fan fiction, we're presented with a man whose very religious family condemns his relationship with another man.
You have fallen in every way imaginable. After everything you have taken from us, the very touch of you corrupts. When Castiel first laid a hand on you in hell, he was lost!
Like, what else am I supposed to be getting from that? It's revealed by the angel Naomi and later God himself that in every alternate universe, the angel Castiel never defected from heaven. In this sense, Cass's love for Dean is in and of itself an act of free will. He's a very clear allegory for a queer man going against both his religious family and his predetermined life path, emphasizing yet again the importance of choice. As a character, Dean adheres to a societal standard of masculinity. He loves his car, burgers, and classic rock. He's good with women, frequents strip clubs, and is no stranger to violence. His relationship with his father was emotionally stunted as Dean learned to follow orders without complaint. He was taught early on that his wants and needs were secondary to the expectations placed on him. Additionally, he was taught to be strong above all else, creating a character who struggles to express emotions other than anger, which even then is often channeled through hunting and other forms of violence. While I don't remember John Winchester making any declarations about his stance on homosexuality, the archetype of the masculine, distant, and unemotional father is a common staple in LGBT stories, because it once again evokes the concept of seeking independence amidst familial expectations. Dean is an expert at putting on a front to get through situations and conversations that upset him, but during their first interaction, Castiel breaks down these walls easily.
And why would an angel rescue me from hell?
Good things do happen, Dean.
Not in my experience.
What's the matter? You don't think you deserve to be saved?
These two characters rely on one another emotionally in a way they don't with anyone else. They care for each other, they confess private thoughts to each other, they have emotional conversations, exchange mixtapes, watch movies together.
The movie? With Kurt Russell? I made you watch it.
Yeah. The one with guns and tuberculosis. I'm your Huckleberry.
Well, it's good to have you back, Cass. Dude, could you be more gay?
When Dean, a self-proclaimed faithless man, breaks down and prays, it's always to Cass.
Cass, you there? I'm praying, okay? I pray to you, Cass, every night. Man, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me.
While Dean may not have been intentionally created as queer, I do think that in a story about breaking the mold and creating your own destiny, a hypermasculine guy who devalues his own self-worth, falling in love with the angel who saved him is kind of perfect, especially when the meta elements of Supernatural are taken into account. In the later seasons, the show frames its own writers as God, torturing these characters with predetermined plotlines. So the fact that they're so adamant about Dean being straight is horribly ironic when looked at through the lens of its own meta-narrative. Like, Dean can't be bisexual. God won't let him.
Why are you using me as bait? I mean, it's kind of what you're for, isn't it?
Then you're dead to me.
Wonderful. I once led armies, and now I'm paired with a scruffy Philistine and a talking dog.
Castiel is a fan favorite, but I think the writers might have hated him. While he stands as a very strong character in his initial seasons, he was created out of necessity as the 2007 writer's strike cut the show's 3rd season short, leaving Dean stuck in hell instead of being rescued as initially planned. When Cass is introduced in the first episode of season 4, he's given the full treatment as the mysterious figure who resurrected Dean. He disturbs radio frequencies, he burns out a psychic's eyes when she tries to see his true form, and when he finally appears on screen, his entrance is dramatic. He withstands all of Dean's weapons, and he puts Bobby to sleep with a single touch. He's framed as otherworldly and incredibly powerful, if not frightening, but as the show progresses, Castiel steadily loses his strength. In a literal sense, his abilities are continuously weakened. By the final season, he usually gets knocked out first in fights, the strength of his angelic grace is unpredictable, his wings are gone so he can't teleport, and he no longer has the strength of heaven behind him. The ethereal terror drives a truck now. On an emotional level, Castiel also loses his faith. While he began wholeheartedly dedicated to heaven and its angels, he not only learned of their callousness and corruption, but also became painfully aware of his own. After the Winchesters subvert the apocalypse, Castiel fights in a civil war for the rule of heaven, only to betray his closest allies and declare himself God. This, among other events, leads to his emotional and mental destruction, which is only made worse when he's stranded in purgatory. By season 8, Castiel is riddled with guilt and self-doubt, questioning his own inner goodness.
I caused a lot of suffering on Earth, but I devastated heaven. I vaporized thousands of my own kind, and I can't go back.
Because if you do, the angels will kill you.
Because if I see what heaven's become, what I made of it, I'm afraid I might kill myself.
Each attempt he makes to rectify his mistakes ends in failure, as he accidentally locks all of the angels out of heaven, gives power to a rampaging narcissist, and ultimately frees Lucifer from hell. Again. Most of his time in the series is spent searching for a purpose. He is an angel, after all, and without orders or a cause to serve, he finds himself feeling lost and useless. It would seem, given the present themes of the show, that his ultimate character arc would be in learning that his worth doesn't come from his ability to be useful at all, but rather that his existence has inherent worth.
We don't care about you because you're useful or you fit into some grand design. We care about you because you're you.
However, this conclusion is often not supported by the narrative itself. The show is obviously from the perspective of Sam and Dean, not Cass, so most of the cool stuff he does happens off-screen.
Once I had the Blossom, I fought. Caught them off guard, they fought back. I managed to get away.
I'm back from Syria with fruit from the Tree of Life. The tree was guarded by a pack of jinn. I killed most of them, bargained with the rest. Think I'm technically married to their queen now.
The brothers regularly forget he exists for episodes at a time, and whenever he proves unhelpful, everybody gets mad at him.
Something went wrong. You know this. Something always goes wrong.
Yeah, why does that something always seem to be you?
Oh! Stop the violence. The text often frames him as being pretty helpless, like Castiel canonically spends the majority of season 11 just watching TV. Even his relationship with Dean suffers, as the writers clearly grew self-conscious in how to present their dynamic. Ultimately, Castiel finds purpose in family when he becomes a stepfather, for lack of a better word, to Jack. While Cass was sent to kill Lucifer's child before the birth, he was instead given a fetal vision of the paradise that the child could create, and dedicated himself to its protection. This is, of course, after trying and failing to establish a fatherly connection with his vessel's daughter, Claire. We don't have to talk about that. While dedication to family is a predominant theme of the show, it does little to alleviate Cass's fears that he's only valuable in his usefulness. Much of Jack's raising is done by Sam and Dean, and Cass proves unable to control Jack or save him.
You know, the Empty said that it wouldn't come for me until I had finally given myself permission to be happy. But with everything we have going on, with Michael still out there, I don't see that happening anytime soon. This life may be a lot of things, but it's rarely happy.
Do you see him? Do you think a depressed person could make this? No.
Castiel is admittedly living in a state of perpetual unhappiness, moving from threat to threat with little time for any personal fulfillment. And while his death scene is emotional, it does little to rectify his flailing character arc.
Why are you telling me this now?
Because the one thing I want, it's something I know I can't have. But I think I know I think I know now. Happiness isn't in the having. It's in just being. It's in just saying it.
He sacrifices himself out of loyalty and a desire to be helpful, and is ultimately resurrected by God in order to rebuild heaven. How exactly is this different from his previous circumstances?
He's in love with humanity.
Humanity just doesn't love him back.
I love you.
Sugar gay?
This is about me and Sam. Okay, this isn't your fight.
The hell it isn't. Family don't end with blood, boy.
A wise man once told me, family don't end in blood. But it doesn't start there either. Family cares about you, not what you can do for them. Family's there, through the good, bad, all of it. They got your back, even when it hurts.
All our friends are dead.
I am a Winchester.
While we're introduced to Sam and Dean as estranged brothers with little other family to name, by the final season they've grown incredibly close and built up a network of found family. Much of the show's emotional conflict is created through the betrayal or death of these family members and the related challenges of forgiveness and grief. The relationship between Sam and Dean often verges on codependent, especially in times when their found family is lost. The brothers have never shied away from literally battling heaven and hell to save each other, and progressively they struggle with making choices on each other's behalf. These desperate decisions are often born out of the fact that they are one another's only support system. While they develop outside relationships throughout the series, most of these characters die horribly, often due to Winchester negligence, reinforcing the belief that Sam and Dean only have each other, and in some ways preventing them from connecting with people in the future. Kevin Tran and Charlie Bradbury are two victims of Sam and Dean's codependence. When Sam is dying in season 9, Dean allows an angel to secretly possess him, ultimately leading to Kevin's death. Likewise, when Dean is afflicted by the mark of Cain, Sam's continuous efforts to fix him, even when Dean has begged him to leave it alone, result in Charlie's murder. More so, when Dean is later possessed by an angel himself, their attempts to save him cause the deaths of dozens of hunters Sam has been mentoring. Despite their propensity to put others in danger, the Winchesters manage to create a close circle of fellow hunters who make it to the end. However, in the final conflict of the show, God erases all sentient life from Earth, leaving Sam and Dean to exist in solitude. This, of course, is an amplification of the world they've been creating for themselves since the beginning, a world with only each other. It's clear why this is problematic. While their relationship is important, they need other people as well. But while Jack supposedly undoes all of this, the show makes no reference to the outcome of these characters that we and the brothers have grown close to. The last we see or hear of them, they are being wiped from existence. The final episode of Supernatural shows the boys in an empty bunker, only to flash forward through Sam's life after Dean dies. Sam has always craved a loving family. He wants a partner, but throughout the course of the series, he becomes convinced that Dean is right, that the hunter life is inescapable. Jessica was killed despite his devotion, and his attempts to find love end in heartbreak at best and death at worst.
We are finally free to move on, you know?
I don't know. I don't know if I can move on. You know, I can't forget any of them. Dean, I still think about Jessica. I can't just let that go.
No, man, that's not what I'm talking about.
I know. I'm sorry, I know. But what I'm saying is that I don't feel free.
However, in the final season, Sam lets himself fall for and begin a relationship with fellow hunter Eileen, with even Dean agreeing that it could actually work this time.
You know, I tried the family thing, right?
Yeah, me too. That's not for us.
No, not really. But I'm just saying, if it was to work, Eileen, you know, she gets it. She gets us. She gets the life. She's hot.
Despite this, once Dean dies, Sam doesn't find closeness with his found family. Because the audience is never guaranteed that they were saved, a sense of loneliness is created for Sam. Like, He really seems to have nobody. We see that he has a son with a faceless wife who I hope is supposed to be Eileen, but it really doesn't seem like it. While Sam may be able to escape the hunter lifestyle, it's not framed as a success or a happy ending. Instead of mourning and moving on with a healthy support structure, it comes across like Sam has a son to fill the Dean-shaped void in his life until he gets his real happy ending by dying and going to heaven. For a show that relies so heavily on the profound importance of family, the plot callously abandons a large majority of its characters, most of whom have been like family to Sam and Dean in a way that feels nihilistic and quite frankly off-putting from an audience perspective.
Every friend we've ever had is either dead or they got wise and they packed it in.
They're the same picture.
And don't get me wrong, the show has always delighted in murdering its secondary characters, but their deaths are usually treated with some gravity. In this case, we're either meant to believe that everyone who vanished in Chuck's Thanos snap is dead, or that Sam and Dean decided to sever ties to keep them safe. Both of which are mega depressing and don't align with the show's previously established themes.
I'm furious to know that all my life I've been nothing but a hamster in a wheel, stuck in a story.
Sam Winchester, this is your life.
All right, well, 2 salty hunters, 1 half-angel kid. And dude just came back from the dead, again. Team Free Will 2.0. Here we go.
No! Free will.
What are you?
The final conflict of Supernatural positions the Winchesters against God himself, also known as Chuck. Chuck was introduced initially in season 5 as a sheepish, awkward prophet who had unknowingly turned Sam and Dean's adventures into a book series with a cult following. While Chuck is God was a popular fan theory supported by Chuck's disappearing into thin air at the end of his original arc, it was only confirmed to the audience in season 11 when the God who had long since abandoned his post is reintroduced to us in the form of this hipster piece of shit. Chuck has been cognizant and capable for the entirety of the series, watching from afar and occasionally writing himself into the narrative of Sam and Dean's lives, playing with them like characters in his favorite story. And between Cain and Abel, Lucifer and Michael, and now Sam and Dean, the brothers who ultimately kill one another, is Chuck's favorite story.
Look at the gathering storm, the gun, the father killing his own son. This is Abraham and Isaac. This is epic.
When the group, who colloquially refer to themselves as Team Free Will, discover this, it is expectedly pretty unnerving. When the boys resist God's plan by refusing to kill Jack or one another, Chuck reacts much like an angry toddler, by breaking his toys. By the end of the series, Chuck functions as a symbol for destiny in a uniquely nihilistic way, with the metaphor made multiple times that the boys have simply been running on a hamster wheel for their entire lives. This contrasts the way fate is typically framed in media, and while fate takes on many faces during the course of the show, from Fate the Goddess to Lady Luck to Death in her books, Chuck is undoubtedly the darkest depiction. He represents the boys' worst fears, that they were born to be evil, to let each other down, or to simply be pawns in someone else's game. Either way, they can never be confident that they're making their own decisions when an omnipotent force is constantly manipulating them in their lives. So, naturally, they decide to kill God.
Hey, Chuck!
And you did it at my birthday dinner.
This just in, folks, you can kill the Christian God on primetime television, but don't you dare let those boys kiss. As previously stated, the character of Jack was prophesied to save the world. When he's resurrected by Death herself, it's under the condition that he will ultimately sacrifice himself to kill God. We're shown that Death has a library full of books which list the possible ways that a person could die. Yet another allusion to predetermined life paths within this series. And everyone, including Chuck, has a book. However, in the end, Death's plan is forgone, with Jack instead absorbing God's energy, leaving Chuck human and embedding himself with the powers of both God and the darkness in the process. Chuck is left on Earth, flipping through the blank pages of his book without direction, power, or a story to follow. In a sense, the boys grant Chuck the one thing he refused them: free will.
Guys, wait, please wait, guys!
Oh, how the tables have turned.
While Jack ultimately proves defiant against his inner darkness, he does succeed in fulfilling his destiny, according to Castiel's vision. In that sense, he stands as a positive depiction of fate, in stark contrast with the themes of the season. Ultimately, Jack assumes the role that God filled in the beginning of the series, that of an absent father, allowing destruction and violence and monsters to roam the earth in the name of being hands-off.
So I am confusion. Why is this one Kansas?
Listen, you guys know me. I'm hands-off. I built the sandbox, you play in it.
But this one is not Arkansas.
I won't be hands-on.
America, explain! Explain! What do you mean in Arkansas?
Of course, there's no perfect way to handle God's treatment of creation. A hands-off God is the typical belief of most modern monotheistic religions, as it aligns with the real state of the world. But this is fiction. Sam and Dean are wanted mass murderers, the subjects of multiple nationwide manhunts, yet never get recognized by cops. Angels wear trench coats, Lucifer was the president, and also a rock star. Everyone is wearing full coverage foundation, these demons are just dudes in t-shirts, and Sam's hair is stiffer than Dolly Parton's. I think we can put our sense of doubt aside and admit that Jack restoring the status quo of reality through stock video footage is not a satisfying conclusion. Especially when the point has been made before that if God is aware of the atrocities that happen on Earth and chooses to do nothing, he's a fucking dick.
Listen, Chuckles, even if there is a God, he is either dead, and that's the generous theory.
He is out there, Dean.
Or he's up and kicking and doesn't give a rat's ass about any of us.
So Jack may be acting as a champion of free will, but how are we as the audience meant to accept this as Jack being a better god than the one who came before him? How can a world that still needs hunters at all be considered a good one? As previously stated, the final episode takes place after the season's conflict has been resolved. We're shown that Sam and Dean, finally in possession of true free will, are still hunting. They still live in the Men of Letters bunker by themselves, and when they go out on a vampire hunt one day, Dean is killed in action. He's pushed onto a large spike during the fight, but if you ask a fan of the show, they'll likely say that he died of tetanus after falling on a rusty nail. It's easy to joke about because Dean's death scene is drawn out to a comical degree, sucking all sentimentality from the scene.
Man, when we were kids, you were so damn smart. You never took any of Dad's crap. I ever tell you that night that I came for you and you at school. You know, when Dad hadn't come back from his life. I want to be with you. Right here. Every day. Well, I did not think this would be the day. I need you to tell me that it's okay. You tell me it's okay.
Why don't you just fucking die already?
After 5 full minutes of monologuing, the audience can't help but wonder, why exactly didn't Sam have time to call an ambulance? I guess it's a win for the Wincest truthers after all.
So are you two, like, together?
More so than that, as the show's final conflict revolves around Dean's desperation to escape the life written for him by Chuck, it's especially heinous to end the show with Dean's inability to escape the life his father planned out for him. If we think back to those established themes in the early seasons, the hunter lifestyle has always been a story that Dean was written into. The very existence of both Sam and Dean comes down to prophecy. Everything from their parents' marriage, a union between a hunter and a man of letters, to Mary's murder and John's revenge mission were planned out by the forces of heaven and hell. But while Righteous Killer may be the character mold he was assigned and believes himself to be, in Dean's quietest moments it's clear that what he really wants is peace.
It's a crap job. We do the ugly things so the people can live happy.
Yeah. Lucky them.
Yeah, lucky them.
He won't allow himself to stop hunting as long as there's things to be hunted, but he clearly craves companionship and family just as much as Sam does, and is shown to envy hunters who are able to settle down and retire. While he may have achieved the illusion of autonomy, Dean ends his story the same way he began it, as a hunter. In this sense, Dean's ending is a tragedy in that he never really experiences true free will. He even says so himself.
You knew it was always gonna end like this for me. It was supposed to end like this, right?
Should she suffer? All right, clap if you think she should suffer.
Dean then ascends to the afterlife, where Bobby informs him that heaven was rebuilt off-screen by Jack with the help of Castiel, somehow undermining both his death and his resurrection at the same time. Predictably, Dean spends the following 30 years driving his car in a circle until Sam's soul joins him. Now, obviously COVID restrictions played a part in the finale's general weirdness, but I can't help but think of some easy fixes. Like, while there are some large-scale issues that span over the course of multiple seasons, I really think that even just making changes to the last 2 episodes could massively improve the ending. Namely, the entire finale should be deleted. I think the show could have easily ended with the penultimate episode, provided just a few small changes were made to the ending. Okay, so imagine with me for a second. After Jack becomes God, I would have shortened the stock video montage and instead had Sam and Dean make a few phone calls. So Dean could have called Jody, and she could have confirmed the safety of characters like the Wayward Sisters and Donna, and then likewise Sam could have called Eileen to confirm her safety. I just really don't understand why this wasn't done, because all it would have required would have been a FaceTime call or even just a voice memo from one of the actors, which they could have easily recorded offset at their homes while still following COVID restrictions and also tying up the story's loose ends. Of course, I would have had Jack resurrect Castiel on screen in addition to resetting the Earth and its inhabitants. In my version, Jack could still have his little monologue about the ever-present nature of God and creation, but I would have had him properly restore balance, as he now has the powers of both God and the darkness within him. He would explain that demons belong in hell, angels belong in heaven, and humans belong on Earth. He could talk about the beauty of free will and how cosmic forces shouldn't be interfering with the human experiment, and he would ultimately declare at the end that the world is now monster-free. Jack would explain that he has turned every monster on Earth back into a human. This would save characters like Garth, who are good monsters, while also enhancing the themes of forgiveness and inherent good, even in monsters. Just as God has been made human and given the gift of free will, with their monstrous qualities taken away, the monsters would be given the option to start over and make their own choices in life, free from the dictation of their inner darkness.
I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I detect a note of forgiveness.
Please forgive me. And I forgive you. Of course I forgive you. I'm sorry it took me till now to say it. We are sorry. You didn't deserve that. Since when do we get what we deserve?
In the supernatural universe, all figures of faith are incredibly susceptible to corruption. While the story ends with our father, the capital G God, destroying his own creation for entertainment, it begins with their father, John Winchester. While Dean worships his father, often to his own detriment, Sam resents John's abandonment and the way he set him up for a life he never wanted, much like Chuck. While John Winchester is responsible for most of his children's trauma, the narrative and the boys themselves often forgive him for his parental failings. We see the kind-hearted man he was before demonic forces destroyed his family. Dean, who has more of a right than anyone to be upset with his dad, refuses to speak poorly of him. And even Sam, who has had a contentious relationship with John his entire life, ultimately forgives him when they're briefly reunited.
You did some messed up things. But I mean, when I think about you, and I think about you a lot, I don't think about our fights. I think about you. I think about you on the floor of that hospital. I think about how I never got to say goodbye. Sam. Son. I am so sorry. I'm sorry too.
Forgiveness. Can you imagine?
While John dies early in the show's run, his presence is felt throughout insofar as he represents the theme of sticking by family even when they've caused irreparable hurt. If there is one theme the show is consistent on, it's the intrinsic value of forgiveness. Characters like Meg, Crowley, Ketch, and Rowena stretch the brothers' capacities for empathy and redemption. Castiel betrayed Dean and permanently damaged Sam's psyche, yet found forgiveness in the brothers before he could even forgive himself.
I'm not good luck, Dean.
Yeah, you know what? Bottom of the ninth, and you're the only guy left on the bench? Sorry, but I'd rather have you. Cursed or not.
The show implies that everyone possesses an inherent darkness, and moments of corruption by this darkness are inevitable. The angels committed atrocities in the name of heaven. God tortured his own creation for entertainment. Jack is a sweetheart who killed innocent people, and John Winchester is a loving father who abused his children. And you know, Sam and Dean have done some not so great things themselves.
Oh my God. These guys are psychopaths.
The characters, however, are not always rewarded for their forgiveness. Michael, despite being an incredibly loyal son, was still killed unceremoniously by Chuck. Likewise, while Lucifer begs for his father's involvement and subsequently offers forgiveness, God promptly disappears again a few episodes later in direct violation of his word. Despite this, I think the show is acknowledging that offering forgiveness doesn't always solve problems or erase consequences, but it's still worth giving, purely for the sake of it. Because while everyone is capable of corruption, we're all equally capable of fighting that inner darkness and becoming something good. So maybe if we try really hard, we can find it in our hearts to forgive Supernatural for its ending. And if all else fails, just tell yourself this was Chuck's ending.
It's feeling a little thin, low stakes. A story is only as good as its villain, and these villains are just not feeling very dangerous. Not to mention there's no classic Rock, no one even mentions Cass. The climax is a little stale.
Justice for Becky.
Hello. Thank you for watching to the end, if you did. And now I'm here to humbly beg that if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel and maybe like it and share it and all that stuff. I don't know why I spent 3 months of my life working on a Supernatural video essay. It just kind of happened, and here we are. Honestly, this originally started off as it was going to be an analysis of Destiel. I got a little section in there, but I watched the finale and I was so mad that this happened instead. So if you're interested in a full Destiel analysis at any point, let me know in a comment. Maybe I'll do that. But otherwise, I'm planning to keep making video essays like this about various TV shows. And if that sounds interesting to you, maybe subscribe. But, you know, don't think about it too long because you know what they say.
He who hesitates disintegrates.